Hey Scrabble, I hope you're all safe and well. Among the things I'm missing in this time, including my fiance and a haircut, is seeing all of you in person and even doing stuff like this in person as well. But this is your thought for the week, and I've titled this one Handling Our Burdens. So in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 to 30, Jesus is speaking and he says this: Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, in this context, Jesus was talking to a large crowd in Israel who were weighed down by, among other things, a culture that was really strict in terms of its laws and rules and religious traditions. And what Jesus is offering this crowd is basically to trade their burdens for this new one that he's given. And when he talks about this easy yoke and this light burden, what he means is not just a self-improvement, not just try this on and see if it fits, but he is talking about a completely transformed life that begins with him and then it lasts a lifetime. Now, we don't live in the same culture, but we all still carry burdens, some very similar and some very different. And it makes Jesus' offer of rest and relief from them invaluable. So why then do we, and myself included in this, still fear and worry and get anxious, even if we have believed Jesus at his word in this? Well, there was a time before lockdown when I could still go to the gym. And if you can imagine this, the gym I went to was this huge open planned area, and you could stand anywhere around the floor and you could see everything that was going on. So imagine lots of different people, different machines and weights just scattered all around the place, everything that you needed for your workout. Now, I'm not going to be able to lift or handle what some of the boys could do who I know would have went there on a daily basis, maybe even twice or three times a day. I only dream of having the muscles and the motivation for some of their workouts. But at the same time, I might actually be able to handle a wee bit more than some of the other characters who would maybe come and go from the doors, maybe daily or whatever time of week they went. Now, in that sense, every person is different in terms of what they can carry and actually what they can handle. But when it comes to talking about burdens, the one thing we have in common is that we are all carrying something. How we handle them, however, is a completely different matter. So how then does Jesus' offer of rest help us to handle what we are carrying right now? Well, before we even get there, we need to do two things. Firstly, we need to recognize our burdens, because we don't really call burdens burdens. Everyone has their own wee niche way of describing them. So you might say that something is tough. Oh man, this is really difficult. This is really stressful. You might say, oh, my job's a grind, or this person is just being a pain in the, well, here's my point. Whatever it is and however you describe it, don't minimize the burdens in your life. You need to recognize them and identify them so you can then prepare to hand them over to Jesus. They're real, they're important, and they are tough. Consider what's on your mind, and if you're not sure, well, you don't care about what you're not burdened with what you don't care about. Secondly, burdens need handed over, they're not worn. And sometimes we think that carrying a particular burden makes us tough or strong or even worthy to actually do something. And if we carry our burdens like this, we might look all right on the outside, but on the inside, it will just wear us out and just chip away at us. Things that start off as minor or that we write off as minor often become much bigger issues if we just leave them unchecked. So, for example, a few years ago, I broke a bone in my hand, this one here, the scaphoid, and I fell at football, was in a lot of pain, but thought it was nothing, and I just got on with life after I'd fallen, even though I was in a lot of pain. And over the next few months, because this went on for a really long time, I gradually lost all the strength in my left arm until I actually got up one day in the apartment I was living in and I couldn't lift a thing. I couldn't even open my front door. So I had to go with my tail between my legs to A&E and let them x-ray me and put me in a cast. And thankfully that was all that needed to happen at the time. But once I got that cast off, for the next 12 to 18 months, I couldn't do literally any exercise on my left hand because the bone underneath was so weak. Now that's a physical example, but the point I'm trying to make is so much wider than that. Mental breaks aren't as visible as broken bones, but they can just as easily wear out our physical, our emotional, or our spiritual health and cause much bigger problems if we leave them unchecked. So we need to recognize our burdens and then prepare to hand them over to Jesus, not wear them as badges of honor. And when we do that, a trade-off happens. So we give over our burdens, which are heavy and hard, and we take on that easy yoke and that light burden that Jesus is offering us, that new way of life. Now, does that mean that nothing hard or heavy will ever come up again in my life? Probably not. But you will find two key differences. Firstly, rather than carrying your burdens in your own strength, because that's all you can do when you're doing it by yourself, you will find new strength to carry the burden that Jesus is giving you. And this is his grace. And secondly, by positioning yourself with Jesus, he will help you to handle that burden without you being rattled or consumed by it. And this is the peace that he gives. Coming to Jesus, taking up this new way of life in him, doesn't mean that the bullets won't come, but it means that when they do come, we will not be rattled or consumed by them. Instead, we'll be able to stand confidently and firmly in Jesus, whatever comes. You know, we don't all carry the same burdens. I'm aware that there'll be some of you watching this who will have some very present and serious things on your minds, things that bring up all kinds of emotions and memories that I can't grasp or understand. Now, Paul in Galatians 6 verse 2 writes to the church, and he says this: carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. I want to challenge us as a church today to be aware of and to carry one another's burdens. So if you can, reach out to someone today who you know is struggling or is hurting. You don't need to have all the answers or even say very much. Sometimes, actually, there's nothing to say because there is no right answer right now. But just by reaching out to somebody, you can make all the difference by just letting them know that you care and that you're for them. More importantly than that, pray for one another. There's nothing, literally nothing more effective that you can do, because in praying for someone, you are bringing them right to the feet of Jesus. And no matter how much you want to, you might not be able to ease the burden that is on that they are carrying right now, but you are bringing them to the one person who can. What is the law of Christ? Well, Jesus only left us one new command when he walked the earth, and it was to love one another. And this is how we can show it to each other, by being intentional, by being present, and by praying for each other. We can carry burdens in this way and demonstrate that love for one another. You know, whenever lockdown's over, I thought I'll go back to the gym. I've actually realised that I'm in better shape working out at home than I ever was actually going there or pretending I was going there each day. And this time has helped a lot of people to improvise in similar ways and realise that they're capable of doing things that they never would have tried before now. So with that in mind, let me ask you, what are you carrying and how have you been handling it up until now? I don't always find all the solutions to my burdens. That's why I'm carrying them. And I'll admit that even in my times with God, I don't always find all the answers. But the point of a relationship with Jesus is not just to find answers, it's to realise that we are not alone. God is present in our lives. He is good, and he wants to help us with whatever we're carrying right now. And that's why King David, when he was surrounded by all sorts of trouble in many Psalms, but in particular Psalm 68, he writes in verse 19, "Praise be to the God who daily bears our burdens." So let's come to him today. Let's trade our burdens, which are heavy and hard, for this light yoke and this easy burden that Jesus gives. And when we do that, we will find strength, we will find grace, and we will find peace to carry them, because we are not alone. And let's, carry one another's burdens today. Let's do it in love. Let's do it practically by reaching out to each other, and let's pray for one another as a church and for those around us in our community today. Lord bless you. Stay safe. I really hope you find this helpful, and I'll see you again really soon.